Okay, welcome to another episode of Get Real with Stacie and Kendra. What have you been up to this week, Kendra?
I don't know. What day is it? I feel like because we had a long weekend for school, four
Yeah,
days, they were off 4 days. I'm like, what is today?
I know it always throws me off too. Yesterday felt like a lot of catch up, like doing a lot of catch
Yeah.
up on the weekend.
Mhm. It was my Tuesday that was a Monday. So I feel like it's Tuesday today, but we're already halfway through the week, kind of.
I know, I
And the
know,
weather, like, what is up with our weather?
I
Like, did
know.
you see where like the whole northern part of the country is getting slammed with like the snow thing? And it's supposed to be like 77 here tomorrow. It's February.
I know. Well, this always happens. I feel like in March, we get like 10 inches of snow and then it melts the next day because it's 70 degrees, which I'm
Yeah.
okay with. It makes for some barometric issues. Like I get those headaches when the weather changes so quickly, but yeah,
Oh, maybe that's what my headache's from.
yeah,
Maybe that's
maybe.
what it is. Because it does feel like we're having March weather in February for some reason.
Yeah, this morning is weird. It rained, it was like an icy sleet.
Hmm.
It's sunny
And
now.
now it's sunny and looks really nice out. I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I'll take it.
I'm
I'll
just
take it
really
over
hoping, yeah.
as long as we don't get punished next month with like 2 feet of snow or
Oh,
something.
we will. We will. I know. I just keep saying, like, I really hope it's not like a vinyl chloride cloud. Every time I see the clouds rolling in.
I
Yeah,
know. I smelled something funny and it was like, what is that? What does that smell? I've never smelled that smell before. What is that?
I mean, for those of you who don't know, we're in Virginia. So we are, as the crow flies, like 300 miles away from the Ohio train accident. But it just seems like it's not just in Ohio. In fact, there was a fire in Ohio, like in that same area. There have been plastic plastic plant fires. There's one in Florida. I think there's a chemical fire in Michigan. And I want to say, oh, Arizona, there was a chemical
Yeah, it's
fire.
been.
So how can that not be affecting our weather?
Yeah,
How
because
can that
we
not
all
be?
have the same, we breathe the same. We don't live in little bubble states, like just because something doesn't happen next to you doesn't mean that it's not gonna impact you,
Right,
like downstream and
right.
farmers and all of that stuff. Like
Yeah, I
that's
have real concerns about the water, about the Ohio River and the Mississippi River, and even up to where we are. I mean, we don't get water from those resources, but all of West Virginia does, and we're really close to West Virginia. And it all of this just made me realize like this could happen anywhere. This kind of thing could happen anywhere,
anytime.
anytime.
Yeah, with no warning.
Right. And what would you
Not
do?
like a hurricane. It's like, yeah,
Right.
just you wake up and you find out, oh, there was something that blew up two
Right.
counties over, and now yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I have been thinking a lot this week about detox because I think knowing that this kind of thing can happen anywhere at any time makes you realize how important it is to really support your detoxification pathways, right? Our bodies naturally detox. We have natural systems in place. So, yeah, the idea that we have to go buy a detox program, you don't necessarily have to do that, right? Because your body is doing it. But for a lot of us who have been exposed to environmental toxins, food toxins, we have just a history. Like if you do live on a farm, you may have had a lot of pesticide exposure or a golf course, pesticide exposure. There's a lot of opportunity for us to be exposed to things. So over time, the detoxification pathways do get impaired. And so you do need to support them. And
Mhm.
this sort of makes me realize, okay, like really think about what can we do to unburden our bodies and like keep our homes and the air around us and the water, everything, all of that clean. Like
Mhm.
what can we do just to take simple steps to do that so that we protect ourselves as much as we can?
Right. because we can't control that. There's no
No.
controlling. Like we're all going to be exposed to things in our environment that we cannot control. So, like you've said many times, control the controllables.
Mhm.
And that usually is stuff within your own house. What
Yeah.
is what they always talk about that, like the average woman uses 12 personal care products a day, which exposes us to 168 unique chemicals in 12 products. I mean, that's the potential, not to say that they're all bad, because
Right.
water is a chemical,
Right.
but yeah, that's the potential for a lot of, especially skin being your largest organ, a lot of absorption of these things that you don't even think about. So
Yeah.
that really, I feel like, is a super great place to start, is with your, not to throw everything away, don't throw
Right.
everything away, but to just like, as something goes out, be like, I need a new facial moisturizer. Is there a cleaner version that I can buy to replace this? And there definitely is. So, just little things, like even starting with little things like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree. I mean, I always tell my clients, like, start with food. Like, we focus on food first, but as you get more comfortable with cleaning up your diet, the next step is what you put on your skin in your personal care products. And I think it's maybe a little far-fetched to say, like, if you can't eat your skincare product, then you don't want to do it. That might be a little extreme, but I really do like to see those like all natural ingredients. And
yeah.
like we talked about in our last episode, like they don't always work as well. Like I still have wrinkles. I don't know, I don't know if we can undo this. I don't know if we can undo it. But but yeah, I mean, like going with more natural products, again, if we're talking about unburdening our systems and allowing our detoxification pathways to work better, that's going to help. It just means your body's not going to have to work so hard because your skin is your largest organ. And that stuff does add up. I mean, think about how much lipstick you eat. Like, I don't know, maybe people don't wear lipstick anymore.
Well,
I,
lip gloss, like I've got 3 on my desk right now.
yeah,
I would tell my kids that every time they put it on. I'm like, you realize that you're eating that. Like, so, because one of my kids is obsessed with Dior lip oil. And I'm like, that is probably so horrible.
right.
Um, but if you are good with that, then okay. But yeah, like you eat it. Like I don't, there's a statistic about that as well, like which is kind of gross. Like,
It is. So yeah, make it natural. Make it natural, friends. Get your
mhm.
all natural lipstick. The other skin thing that I really like to do, I actually I brought it here with me, but the other thing I like to do is to do dry brushing, because when you dry brush all over your body, you actually help to stimulate the lymphatic system, which is sort of like your part of your detoxification. Like a lot goes through your lymphatic system. So this just helps to improve that. It helps to improve circulation. It clears off like the dead skin. So that in theory could help with like your complexion and wrinkles. I mean, just getting at that kind of superficial, like we all want to look good too. So the dry brush is a pretty inexpensive way to start a detox, or to, like, if you're not doing anything right now and you start switching your personal care products, pick up a dry brush. You can get them at Target. You can get them probably anywhere. And then just dry brush yourself.
Mhm.
I don't know the right way to do it. Do you?
Yes,
Towards your
I would
heart
start
or
at my
way?
feet, towards
Yeah.
your heart, like, well, up towards your heart from your feet up, and then down towards your heart when you're above your heart, like everything towards your heart, basically, and like arms towards your heart.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one
I
of the
can never
things.
remember.
Yeah, towards your heart. Yeah,
I'm
I love
like, is
to
it?
dry brush.
Yeah, I do too. I only do it in the morning though, because it does kind of get me like, it kind of gives me energy. So I
Yeah,
don't
it
want to
is.
like stimulate everything in the evening. So I'll do it in the morning before I shower. Um, but
It's
yeah, I'm
really
always
good to do before your sauna too. Like
very
do
good.
it before you get in the sauna.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't have access to a sauna, Kendra and I both have the Therasage, and it's a portable sauna. It's fantastic, I think. I mean, I know people
Feels
who
like you're in a little toaster.
yeah, like in the winter, it's awesome.
Yes.
It is like it's like a little cloth pod that you can sit in. You can either sit with your arms and head out, which is less comfortable, or just your head out, or like you and I sit on the inside. Like you pretty much sit all the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to get in there.
Yeah. Get your sweat on. Sweating is so good.
Well, because it has that red light in there, and I like to because that's another thing that's really good for wrinkles is red light. So I like to get in there and try to get as much of that on my face as possible. Two birds, one stone.
What temperature do you set it at?
Usually I try to do 150. But now in the winter, do I go above that? I think usually 150. Like in the summer, I think I don't do it as hot.
Yeah.
As in the winter. What do you set yours at?
Yeah, usually 150.
Okay.
That's what I do. Oh, this
is
morning
that the top? Does it go up to 160?
I don't know if it does. I've just never intentionally tried to go above 150 because I read some research that said around 140 or 150, that's when viruses are
okay.
Right. So
I knew there was something about 150.
Yeah, there was some research that came out during COVID that basically said 15 minutes in a sauna or, infrared sauna at 150 would help with your immune response and help decrease viral load, that kind of thing. And so that's what I've been doing. But you're like in the summer, I do just tend to be outside more and I'm sweating in the sun, and that's that natural light that we're getting. So I don't do it as much in the summer. It's really hard to motivate myself to sit in my hot pod when it's
already hot outside. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Therasage was a great investment. You turned me on to that a couple years ago, and it literally came the week I had COVID. And I bought it for myself for Christmas. Right before Christmas, I was sick. And it's been amazing. I make my whole family sit in it. And again, when we're thinking about detoxification, just sweat, opening up those pores, sweating it out. So maybe you don't have a sauna. I mean, you could even ride around in a hot car. You can exercise. Hot shower. Yeah. All of those things can just kind of help open up those pores and help things clear out.
I was thinking there was something I wanted to say about that. I lost it. Something about detoxing.
Shower or no shower after?
I definitely have to shower after. Yeah. And you should, because like supposedly if you have toxins, then they're now sitting on your skin in the sweat. Oh, that's what I want to say. A lot of people, if you can tell that a way to tell that that you need help opening your detox pathways is that if you don't sweat, if you're a person that doesn't sweat easily, that means that you need to do some work on the detox pathways. Because like when I first started using a sauna, I used one at my massage therapist. So it was like a wooden sit-in one that I really loved. At first I couldn't sweat. Like I would sit in there for 40 minutes and probably at about 30 minutes, I would start to kind of sweat. But then after using it many, many times, it's like I could get in it for 3 minutes and just instantly start. So that's a good telltale sign if you need to work on that, because those toxins got to go somewhere.
That's such a great point. And a lot of your sweat too has to do with hydration, which is part of that detoxification. And you and I were just chatting about like how hydration is just, it's an easy one, right? That's an easy start.
It's so easy and yet so hard at the same time.
It is. Like, I mean, here we are.
It's so hard.
I know. We're trying to keep up with our, my goal is usually 80 to 90 ounces a day. That's
Yeah.
what I don't really count, to be honest. That's like the one thing I don't really count. So I lose track, but I drink one of these probably every couple of hours, if not more. So, so yeah, hydration is so important, but with these kinds of chemical spills and chemical fires that we're having, there's a strong possibility that our water could be contaminated. And quite frankly, there's a strong possibility it already was.
Mm.
Having moved from a well last year to city water, and I have friends who work at the city water system. So I don't want to say your water's bad, friends, but it smells like chlorine. I mean, I can smell the chlorine when I turn it on. Chlorine's not great for you. It depletes your iodine. It's not great for your thyroid. And so I quickly got a Berkey, and actually kind of a funny story. We had a water filter in our garage for like 10 years. It was kind of an emergency water filter that my husband had purchased. And, it was just kind of sitting there because we didn't have any emergencies. And when we moved to this house, I realized that what we actually had was a Berkey water filter, which is one of the best
You
water
did not
filters.
know you had a Berkey.
I didn't know I had a Berkey. I didn't know that he bought a Berkey.
I love that for you.
So I was like, we're using this Berkey because the water smells like chlorine. Now I will say after 10 years, the filters, it kind of dried out. So I had to get new filters, they're expensive. We had a reverse osmosis system at our last house for the drinking water. And I do love reverse osmosis, but there are some drawbacks to that. It does take out the minerals. So you have to replace your minerals, but Berkey leaves the minerals and filters out most everything else. In fact, I did see that they did say that their filters filter out vinyl chloride, whatever the detoxins? I don't know how I can't pronounce this, but whatever is kind of out there right now, they're working on filtering. So yeah, I love my Berkey, and I highly recommend that for your water. If you're on city water, or even if you're on well water, you don't always know what's in the well water at this, especially because we're getting rain. They're talking about acid rain. So get yourself a Berkey. It's a great investment.
I think that was the actual first thing that I bought when I found out that I had cancer, to try to reduce toxic, was a Berkey. Like when we go to the beach, we take the Berkey with us and
Yeah,
filter
that's
the
so
water
smart.
there, because you don't know. And actually Winchester, I think, has one of the oldest like water systems, like the piping that brings the water to our houses. It's like one of the oldest in the country, if not the oldest. It's like number one or number two. It's so old. So I mean, there has to be, I don't know. I'm sure it's fine, but I just feel better filtering it. Clearly Filtered is another one that I like. They make like little pitchers if you just want like a pitcher, or they even have like little under the sink.
Yeah.
Sink ones that you can do.
Yeah,
So,
that's probably a reverse osmosis, I think. Isn't that?
I don't know if there's I can't remember what it is. I just got the thing where my auto shipments come in from. I just have the pitcher. I don't have the one under it might be reverse osmosis. I know the pitcher one does like 360 different things that it pulls out.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's looking, like, you need a little more than what your Brita pitcher from Target can do. Like,
yeah, I think that's
better than nothing, but
yeah. And I think that's the important thing. Like the refrigerator filter, the Brita filters, they're just not quite cutting it. There's not enough of a filter there. So, there's lots of information out there on water filters. Like I said, reverse osmosis of some kind is great, or a carbon filter like a Berkey, or what did you call it?
Clearly filtered.
Clearly filtered. So those are great places to start. And I think it can make a big difference. I definitely taste the difference, and I smell the difference. You will not believe the difference in the water quality. So yeah, doing that, like staying hydrated, drinking a ton of water, but don't drink so much water that you are staying up all night peeing. So when we
Yeah,
want to,
that's also not good.
yeah, right. I mean, I'm always like, okay, you got to increase your water, but stop a couple of hours before bedtime, because sleep is that time where all of the detoxification happens. When you are sleeping, your body is literally taking out the trash. When you're fasted and you're sleeping, that is your body's job. And so if you're not sleeping well, you're not having that detoxification happen. And sometimes it's like, what comes first, the poor detoxification or the bad sleep? Like, it's cause and effect. And sometimes one can cause the other and reverse.
Well, and eating too. Like when do you recommend stopping eating so that you're not, your body's not prioritizing digesting food instead of doing all that trash taken out?
Yeah, I mean, nutrient timing is so important. And this is one of the primary reasons that I do recommend time restricted eating or intermittent fasting, just to allow that process to occur overnight. I mean, there's definitely fat burning benefits to that. And I think for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I'm going to lose weight when I fast. But the real benefit, I think, is just that when you stop eating, a couple of hours before bedtime and you go that whole night without eating, your body is then able to do the repair work that needs to happen because it's not busy digesting. In fact, I can tell you last night we had a basketball game for my son. I ate before, so I ate at like 5, but he didn't get home. He got home at 8 and he ate, and then he was super tired. So he went to bed at 9:30. Well, he was up at 2 a.m. He's like, Mom, I could not sleep last night. And I really do think it was because his body was busy.
Oh, yeah.
It makes it, and sometimes it's just not possible to eat as early as I do, having 3 kids. I mean, we eat early, but that's not always possible. So you have to just try to do the best you can.
Yeah. Well, I know even just looking at the data on my ring that I can see, like on nights where I might have eaten, like I usually try to stop 7 at the latest, but if for some reason I eat at 8, I can see that my heart rate variability is elevated, and like normally it's like it does this like swing thing where your lowest heart rate is like in the middle of the night. But if I've eaten before I like that close to bedtime, it's like it doesn't hit that bottom until right before I wake up. So
Right.
it's like my metabolism is basically just trying to work all night, and it's not, doing all that stuff. So it's crazy to, we don't think about it. It's just like, well, I was hungry, so I ate, or I didn't have time, so I ate. But it really, like, if you're doing that all the time, that's, your body's not restoring while you're
Yeah.
sleeping.
And it's tricky because I do think there are some people who probably need a bedtime snack if they're consistently waking up, if they're doing like a longer fast, but they're waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. There could be some blood sugar issues going on, and maybe they do need a little bit of a snack closer to bed. That's just a little bit of fat and carbs to help them feel full and satisfied. But that's not most people, and it's not everybody. And I think if you are finding you're eating a bigger meal closer to bedtime, the real goal would be to eat bigger meals in the morning and then have smaller meals throughout the day, so that if you do need to eat closer to bedtime, your meal is small, it's light, it's easily digested. I mean, a smoothie might be a really good option for that. Like just something like, if you think about it, a smoothie is almost like pre-digested for you, right? It's already been, yeah, like it's already been chewed up. So that's a little less work that your gut has to do at night. So I think that's a really good light meal to have if you need something and it's late and it's within a couple of hours at bedtime. A smoothie might be a better answer, so you don't have to spend that time and energy digesting.
Isn't it funny that we eat kind of the opposite of how we should? Like most people traditionally growing up, we had our largest meal at dinner right before, I mean, not right before bed, but closer to bedtime. And like the smallest meal was breakfast. It's like, it
How
seems
did it
like it
happen?
should be the opposite of that.
I do think it probably has something to do with like the industrialization,
I'm sure.
because I do think I mean, looking at how my grandparents ate, who were farmers, I think that they were eating larger meals.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because they had to
And
fuel the day,
right, you
you
got to
know?
fuel the day. Also, if you are in Virginia in, 1940s and you don't have air conditioning, like you don't want to be cooking in the
Mhm.
afternoon. So you might do a lot of your cooking in the morning and then just have like cold foods or smaller meals throughout the day. So I do think somewhere in the industrialization or how convenient everything became, we
Mm.
just kind of got away from that actual natural way
Yeah.
of eating.
Yeah. Women back in the workplace or going into the workplace and like not having the time to make a big breakfast. It
Yeah.
turned into grab whatever you can and
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Well, and having previously worked for the Dairy Council too, I know marketing is a big part of that. We had commercials, cereal commercials. We had all of this kind of breakfast junk that has been marketed to us as like quick and easy. And most of it does not fill you up. A bowl of cereal is just not a breakfast. If you come to me and you are having a bowl of cereal, that is the first thing we are going to change. Breakfast is always the place I start. Like if there's no other changes that we make, I'm like, let's focus on 30 grams of protein at breakfast and make sure you're getting fiber. If you can add a vegetable to that, that's even better. And that's really hard for a lot of people to do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I try to make my breakfast as big as I can. Like, or as macro dense as I can, because like you just never know what might happen like throughout the day. So I know if I have like preloaded that thing with as much protein and fiber as I can, um, like I think I entered my stuff in this morning and I'm already to 21 grams of fiber and I've eaten breakfast and had like a little snack. So I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
I can, if everything falls apart, I know I've at least
I've got the fiber. Well,
yeah, yeah.
that's key because having bowel movements, again, another form of detoxification. And I mean, I have women who I work with who poop like once a week. And my heart breaks
This
for
is like
them.
my thing. Like
Yeah.
I went so long. I had such issues with that, like constipation, end up in the hospital. I have had trauma around that. And
Yeah.
so that is like sacred to me. So I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm at least 1, 2 times a day person, because that is horrible.
It
Like
is.
physically, mentally, medically, there's nothing good about that for
Absolutely.
you.
So tell me, okay, what do you make sure that you do every day to have that bowel movement? Like what are your things that you need to do?
Well, I think it's just all sort of become second nature now because, um, but it usually involves making sure that the fiber like is there, that I'm eating, that I'm not just eating protein. Like protein is very important, but for me, I feel like the fiber is almost just as important. So, and then the water, which that I kind of, um, you know, what an idiot thing, but struggle to make sure I do the water. Like I'm trying to get it in, even if I have to flavor it somehow. Um, but yeah, just, and then noting like if anything changes, like I'm on it like that. If it's like, wait a second, did I go?
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, I gotta
Better
amp it up.
focus.
And then also I feel like if you're taking a magnesium supplement, that can help too. So like if there were any struggles, I'd be like, okay, I'll take an extra one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that usually kind of does the trick. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't want to ever go back to that. But I
It's
think honestly, gluten for me, like no doctor could figure it out, but it was two things. I think it was stress and gluten. So as long as I don't do the gluten and stay on top of the stress, it's
things are moving.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like once you figure that out, I mean, it's so empowering because you feel so helpless. And I had a new client this morning who was saying, I've been to doctors and they just keep telling me to eat more fiber. And she's like, I don't think that's the problem. And sometimes it's not. A couple of things about fiber. Sometimes too much fiber can bulk you up too much and make it really hard to pass. So when you're increasing fiber up to 25 or 30 grams, which is where we want to be, if not more, you don't want to go from 0 to 60 in like one day. You got to work up by like 2 or 3 grams of fiber each day, because you will be constipated if you just jump up in your fiber, because it can tend to bulk up the stool. Yeah. So don't do that. But I know, some people do better on less fiber, and it just kind of depends on their health history. But I think the water is huge. And I always, always recommend magnesium. There's just so many benefits to magnesium. And often if we are constipated, that could be a symptom of low magnesium, because a lot of us just don't get it in our food. Our food quality is not as great as it could be. So, like dark cacao or leafy greens, bananas have some magnesium, nuts have magnesium. So those are all good sources. But guys, take a supplement. I think my starting point is 200 milligrams. I usually want to get you up to 400 milligrams, if not more. And take that at night because it helps you sleep. So I think if you're noticing, if you're sleepy in the mornings and you're taking it in the mornings, that could be why. You're very relaxed. But like sometimes people need like maybe 100 milligrams in the morning and 3 or 4 at night. Like eye twitching is a symptom, restless leg is a symptom of low magnesium. Any kind of heart issues, joint aches and pains, constipation, anxiety. I mean, there's just so many signs, or at least associations with low magnesium.
And I feel like that's one of the things that isn't checked.
No.
Like,
no.
Unless you ask for it, and then they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah. Definitely not checked ever. So there's not really any harm in adding that magnesium. Like I don't see a serious drawback to adding 400 milligrams if your symptoms resolve. That tells us something. Now, not to get too far down into magnesium, but different kinds can have different results on your bowels. So, if you need help going to the bathroom, citrate is a great form. If you have all of those other symptoms, but you're having regular bowel movements, maybe glycinate is a better form, but there's different forms. Oxide is a good absorbable form. Just make sure that you're getting it, and you might have to experiment with dosage. But that is key. Bowel movements that's how we also detoxify we clear estrogen. So, estrogen plays a role in, some cancers. It has a role in obviously hormonal imbalances. So I just think, clearing that stuff out is so important.
Yeah. Poop. Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the other thing that I love when it comes to that is dandelion root tea. Did you ever done that?
That's good liver support too, right?
Yeah, good liver.
I didn't do it for that. I did it for liver.
Yes. So it's great liver support, helps with bile, but it also does help with bowel movement. So I think it actually can cause them to bulk up a little bit. So again, just be mindful. But get yourself a good dandelion root tea. I like traditional medicinals.
That's what I use.
Yeah, that's my favorite. And just get ready. It tastes like dirt, but just make it like an iced. I'll make a cup of hot dandelion root tea, and then I'll mix it with water and ice, and it's very light, and I'll just drink that, throughout the day.
I like the taste of dirt. I don't know what that says about me, but
you're so real. That's what it says. Real. So yeah, I would say all of these are really good ways to support that detoxification. There are, of course, a number of supplements you can take. I mean, NAC, glutathione. Are you taking any of those right now?
I'm not right now. I have, but not right now.
Yeah.
Um,
So, glutathione is an antioxidant. Um, and NAC and glutathione, they're basically the same, just a different form. And so not glutathione's hard to get well, actually it was NAC that I think the FDA,
yeah,
yeah,
because NAC helps you turn
the
whatever into
precursor.
glutathione, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So does vitamin C. So vitamin C is good. It's still available on the shelves. NAC is touch and go. When the FDA notices that people are buying things that are really effective, then they start pulling the things from the shelves, which they did during the COVID era. But those are antioxidants that are going to help support detoxification for sure.
Yeah, and I love that, when you've met your your vitamin C thresholds when get the runs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You can go higher and higher and higher. And it's a great, it's
And
a
then
great
you're like, well,
plan,
okay, I guess I've reached my limit.
right? Like you're not going to absorb all of the vitamin C you take. And when you start having loose stool, you've hit your max. But some people could go up to 30,000 milligrams, you could go really high on your vitamin C if you really need it. Other people might go 3,000 and they start having loose stool. So yeah, vitamin C is very helpful if you're not having those regular bowel movements too. You can kind of use that as a laxative. Just take 1,000 milligrams every hour until you have that loose stool. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so there's a lot we can do. And of course you want to get all of those natural foods. You want to get your vitamin C and your magnesium from whole foods, but sometimes you just have to do a supplement. And, I have different protocols for different people, but I think those are really good places to start. And exercise, guys, just move your body. Because as you move your body, things are moving. That's what we want.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that no one educationally in my youth talked about, like how important, like, as you age, moving your body is. It's like it wasn't until I saw like my dad like being basically inactive because of his body that you're like, wait, I don't want to be that. So in order to not be that, you've got to start before it happens, which
Yeah.
means, in your 30s, don't just be living it up. Like start strength training and start learning how to, take care of your body.
I think for a lot of people there is that kind of wake up call that happens. And I know for me it was my dad too, where he had Guillain-Barré and he had to relearn how to walk and talk and write use his pencil. And I was like, man, if I can walk, I will every single day. If I could run, I would do that too. Now I'm not, I'm not the runner I used to be for sure, but it really makes you appreciate it when you see how quickly that can be taken away from you.
Mhm.
So I think that's a really good perspective just to keep in mind that, you know, age, everybody declines with age. But sometimes it's just being sick and being inactive. You want to be as well prepared for that as possible, not to be all doom and gloom.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea that your muscle, like, I just assumed that like you kept your muscle, that you once you made the muscle that you kept the muscle. That is not the case. Like
Oh,
I got to work a lot harder now to even get a little like
yeah.
muscle compared to 20 years ago when it was just like, oh, I'd go to the gym, suddenly I'm like, ooh, look at my biceps. That's not the case anymore.
The best time to build muscle is in your youth. All of those hormones are working for you at that point. I mean, it doesn't feel like it because in your youth, you're like, if you were like me, I was, a little, I don't know, emotional in my in my teens and my 20s. But I know so much more now. And I see my son who's like, yeah, I want to go to the gym. I want to lift weights. I want to get strong. And it just like, they take off, kids take off. I say kids, teens take off when they start strength training early. And that's really what we should be promoting,
Yeah.
is like, not as a matter of like being skinny, but like, this is important. These are functional. This is an organ. If you look at muscle is a functioning organ in your body, and we gotta preserve it. We gotta build it. We gotta take care of it.
Yeah. I think it would help them understand their body more too, like, or just know that, okay, physical therapy is a thing, like their body mechanic movements. And, it's like, unless you have an injury, you never find out about that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And then it's kind of like, well, I probably should have been doing these things all along to help. I was reading that muscle, based on research, muscle is actually the best indicator or predictor of outcomes with cancer. So not
really?
necessarily, BMI or your body weight, but how much muscle you have. The more muscle you have, the better outcome you will have when it comes to cancer.
I mean, that kind of makes sense when you sort of think about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty powerful.
Like,
I think if we could
versus adipose tissue that's whole. I mean, because that's where all the toxins go. They don't
right,
go to the muscles. They go
right.
to the fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to probably shift our thinking a little bit on body weight and thinking more about being stronger, having more muscle, and as doing that as preventative medicine. It's
Yeah.
all preventative. It's all
They
part
just
of.
need to ask us. We could tell them. Like, if
No,
anybody would just ask us,
I know.
how do we fix this?
Have I got an idea for you? I've got a plan. I've got, and that's really part of, like, for years, I've worked with individuals on food sensitivity issues, gut health issues, autoimmunity, inflammatory conditions, and most of the time, by the time they get to me, they've been dealing with these symptoms for years. They have no answers. They may not have a diagnosis. I would say they're probably chronically ill at that point.
Mm.
I really wanted to reach people before they got there. I really wanted to have a program for them where it's like, hey, let's learn how to eat healthy. Let's exercise. Let's learn the importance of sleep and hormones and stress management. Let's get all of these lined up now while you're still kind of healthy. You're probably relatively healthy, but as things go down the road, if you're not taking good care of yourselves, like, you could end up sick.
Yeah.
So that's why I do.
And before they're set in their ways, because
Right.
it's like, so like for my dad, like, he has no interest in doing the things that would make his gout better or make his blood sugar better, or he's just like, well, I don't care. Like, I want to eat this because I've been eating this and I'm fine, even though you're not fine. So it's like, once they're to that point, it's very hard to, reel it back in. So if we can catch them before it happens, and before these, quote unquote, we won't say bad habits, just habits,
Right.
these
Habits. Yeah.
are formed, then it's so much easier. It would be so much easier
I
on,
agree.
like, you in trying to coach someone to undo that.
Yeah. Honestly,
All those layers.
if they're coming to me, usually they're open to change. I mean, I have 70, 80-year-olds who come to me and they're ready to make changes. And that nothing makes me happier, because I certainly have talked with 30-year-olds who don't want to make changes. Right. So, I mean, but once you come to me, I mean,
You're like, can you go talk to this person
I
and
know.
tell them
Right.
what
Well,
you should have known?
yeah. And they have the wisdom to know, like, hey, I can influence things here. So yeah, I think it's all mindset. But once you get locked into those habits, they sure are hard to break. So let's build them now. Let's do these things now.
Yeah.
So, well, I know we talked about a lot today. We covered a lot of detox, or detox support ideas. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that our audience really needs to know?
I don't know. I'm doing a mental detox where I'm just, for Lent, I'm gonna give up Instagram for 40 days because I need to detox from that. And it's like,
Love it.
it's so hard to do. Like, I think it's easier to quit alcohol than to do that because it's so pervasive. Like, it's like I get my news from that. Like I'm like, okay, I just want to pop on and see this, but that's not what happens. Then it's like I get distracted and I get pulled in, and then so detoxing that. So detox can be more than just food and environment. It can also be like,
Yes, just mental health. Well, that affects so much. It's brain clutter is what it is. It's just kind of like, it clutters the brain.
And it's a habit. It's just a habit because I've caught myself. I took the app off my phone and I've caught myself like 10 times going to just,
I'm going to miss you.
Oh, you can still find me.
I mean, I know how to text you, thankfully, but how am I going to,
listen, we'll just have to keep our communication in one avenue instead of like an Instagram thread going and a text thread going and an email thread going.
We're notorious for over communicating through different channels, but yeah, I do love, some of the funny stuff on there, but it does get overwhelming. And I love the idea of doing this, this break. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it.
I mean, I don't know either. I mean, I could like totally fall off the wagon, but I'm going to try just to see like how long I can go.
You've done it before.
How long did you go last time? And I felt so much better.
Yeah. How long did you go?
I did feel like I was missing out on some stuff. And it was so funny because my one friend sends me tons of like reels and memes and things. And she'd be like, and she'd like start singing a song. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're doing because I hadn't seen any of the things, but oh no, we'll see.
Well, I know that you will keep us posted on that because I could use time. Yeah, it is a long time. I could use some inspiration on that. I'm gonna have to think
but you kind of have to be on there.
Do I really though?
I mean, probably not.
I know that's the question. I mean, I haven't been posting as much lately, and mostly because I've been really busy, and I'm like, that's okay. That's okay with me. I'm kind of maybe just weaning off a little bit, but I still do have the bad habits. And I had this conversation with my son the other day, who's not on social media. I mean, he's 14. Thankfully, he's not interested in social media, but just the overall phone usage. And I realized, my husband and we don't set great examples. Like I literally do everything on my phone. I am their scheduler. I'm texting all the different parents. I've got work texts coming in. I've got, just the calendar, the school app, like everything is on my phone. And I feel like I'm a slave to it a lot of the time. And I told him that. I was like, I don't want you to feel this way. And you're starting with a phone much younger than I did.
Yeah.
So, I'm like trying to protect him from that because it's really enslaving. I mean, it's just.
I know. And so I have to do Facebook because I have to do our group stuff, right? But I'm only going to do that on my computer. I took that off my phone too. So, because I feel like it's this thing, this stupid
thing. I know.
We can't get away from it.
I know. Well, wouldn't it be nice when it's like implanted in our brains?
That's why I won't have an Apple Watch because I'm like, I can't take one more thing like telling me that I have a message or like I can't do it.
Yeah. I don't have I have a Garmin. I don't have it set up like to connect with my phone. So I don't get any of my notifications on here. I sync it in the morning and maybe at night, but I don't sync it throughout the day. So basically I don't really need a smartwatch, but my last step tracker / watch was I had a Casio, and then I had I guess it was a Casio. It didn't do heart rate, and I just kind of really wanted that information. So here I am with a smartwatch that I don't use all of the features on, but
I think that's okay though.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
Detox.
Detox. All right. Let's go detox. All right. We're going to wrap this up, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.